All right, welcome to the Footy Museum and the Footy Museum podcast. It is another week in the world of football, both types of football, the real kind and the hand-based, blimp-throwing kind. That's right, it's Super Bowl Sunday, but we are here to talk to you about the week in the other football's news, the real football news.
Special guest Taylor Swift.
Oh, maybe. Will she? Won't she?
Will she?
We'll find out. Oh my gosh. So, Maria, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm coming at you
On location.
remote, on location from.
You are. If I'm not sure, that is the press room beneath the Las Vegas Stadium where they're going to play the Super Bowl, because you are the official press person for the Footy Museum, and they put you in this room.
The official American football correspondent.
Once they went to our website, they put you in this basement room.
That looks a lot like my apartment.
Oh, but you know who is?
I feel at home.
Oh, that's good. They recreate it perfectly.
Yeah.
You know who is excited for the Super Bowl?
Who?
La Liga, of course. So apparently La Liga will be hosting the first, possibly, would have to search, but they are hosting an NFL game in Spain. And they are, in anticipation, really pushing hard to show their connections with the National Football League. So much so that they created an NFL-style uniform for Real Betis that you can see here. I don't know, you can't see it that well, but the helmet is pretty amazing. And it just goes to show that even if soccer was football,
they'd still
American
do it better.
Football, it'd still be better. Which I think is also evidenced by these graphics La Liga put out to highlight their connection to all the stadiums that will host World Cup games in 2026 in the Americas. So Lincoln Financial Field was included, Hard Rock Stadium, AT&T Stadium.
Hard Rock Stadium.
They didn't
Nothing gets more American than Hard Rock anything.
I think AT&T Stadium's pretty American. Or Lincoln Financial. I mean, that's pretty good. They didn't take time to airbrush the football line, the NFL lines out of the fields, but I love them really pushing this connection. And of course
We'll see if FIFA even takes the time to brush those NFL lines off the field.
No, they may not. You know, my favorite FIFA story is in 2015 at the Women's World Cup in Montreal. We were at the Olympic Stadium, huge stadium, Germany versus France. And only half of the concession stands were open, and they had hastily produced foam board menus taped over the top of the existing ones. Almost no merch. Like the merch options were like a FIFA Women's World Cup soccer ball or like, I don't know, a cup. It was
a commemorative
and it was such an amazing
cup.
game. But that's not a surprise. But FIFA is also, they were announcing this week, we already knew which cities were going to be included, but they announced the schedule. So which games would be played at which stadium. The opening match, of course, in Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, which will be phenomenal. It will be difficult because it'll be warm, smoggy, high altitude. So that's going to be a tough match. And then, of course, the final will be played in New Jersey. And I love how they keep pushing it, like the final in New York, New Jersey. Well, it's physically in New Jersey. I don't understand the confusion. You have to drive through New Jersey to get to the stadium that is in New Jersey. And so that will be interesting.
I'm enjoying all this social media content where people are like, foreigners coming in to like finding their Airbnb in New Jersey, and it's just like Jersey,
Well, who was up for Jersey was Gianni Infantino of FIFA. He dressed fully the part with their special announcement program, which was just a beautiful choreographed display of awkwardness, co-hosted, of course, by Kevin Hart, world-known football aficionado.
Is he a fan?
I don't know. I wonder if Infantino chose him just because he's short, and he wanted to look taller. Because if you
that's why you picked me for this podcast too.
Well, we're sitting down in the video. And there was also the announcement of venues by Kim Kardashian and her son. Oh, it was just a mess. And it gives us so much to look forward to. Unfortunately, Chicago, not a venue, obviously, again, really frustrating. I think a lot of people wonder why that is. Initially, they were going to be considered. And when Rahm Emanuel was the mayor, he was seeking to kind of calm his reputation down in the city. He had gone through a lot of scandals with a kind of police actions, which were very unpopular. So he decided to withdraw their application. Now, there's other more kind of conspiratorial ideas because I don't know if you remember this, but the United States investigated FIFA, which led to a number of arrests and trials, and even, I think, fines and possibly imprisonments for corruption in FIFA. And that was done under President Barack Obama, a proud, famous Chicagoan. So when you see the big area of exclusion radiating from Chicago in this World Cup, I wonder if that's part of it. I have no evidence to say,
I feel like that's the kind of petty thing that FIFA would do.
It seems very, very FIFA-like.
I'm
they're in New Jersey. They're dressing like they're on The Sopranos. I mean, it's just totally in line. Oh, but it did make me think this week about other kind of American NFL-style football with global football and how long they've really overlapped. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later this week when we can, or later next week, when we do our next section on Chicago soccer history. But one thing is how important Soldier Field has actually played a role in soccer history in this country. On the bottom left of this picture, first of all, on the top, you see Pullman
with the
from
P,
1918 with the single P, which very well could be in Soldier Field. I'm not sure. And then below them to the left is the Chicago Bricklayers and Masons Football Club, who were quite good, correct?
Yeah, they were very good.
They actually appeared in the Challenge Cup final, now known as the U.S. Open Cup, twice in 1928 and 1931. And in 28, that match was played at Soldier Field, as a lot of matches have been throughout the history. Obviously, Soldier Field, the home of the Chicago Fire, and a host site for the 94 World Cup. 1994, that is when I was already fully working in the world, and you were just a twinkle in your parents' eyes.
No, I was too.
Oh. So do you have a lot of 94 World Cup memories? All right. And speaking of Soldier Field and the NFL, residents of Soldier Field, the Chicago Bears, this is really interesting because the team you see on the top, again, this photo also from 1918, both these photos from the Spalding American Footballing Guide from the 1918 season. This is, and excuse, I may pronounce this wrong, but I believe it's Kechie, Cechie FC. They were a fourth division Chicago team. Yes, I believe that there was maybe Pro Rel within Chicago, but they were a fourth division Chicago team. And if you look on their shirts, that is very clearly the Chicago Bears C, wouldn't you say?
It is a remarkable resemblance.
What's interesting is this photo was taken 2 years before the formation of the Chicago Bears in 1920. So this is our conspiratorial podcast. I'm telling you. I'm going to say that they also stole their logo. Other interesting fact.
Well, I mean, an argument against that conspiracy is that this is just a popular way to write a C back then. But I am fully on board for the conspiracy that the Bears stole this logo from the fourth tier team in this photo.
That's right. Thank you for getting on board, because what you can't see is the back of these jerseys. It says "Da Bears." Yeah. And the guy on the right, number 7, that large coach, was actually known as Pierre the Refrigerator Paris. So that's not the only big game going on today, the Super Bowl. There's another one going on as we speak right now, and that is the AFCON final with host Ivory Coast former feature of the Footy Museum when we did a Designs of AFCON episode versus Nigeria. It should be a great match. Unfortunately, like all the AFCON matches, I've only been able to watch highlights because I can only take on so many streaming services.
I know. It's in the streaming wars, cable has won because we're all questioning our decision to.
Oh, there's so many.
Stop.
Now, this is after they beat DR Congo, another team that we featured in that design episode. And at the beginning of that match, did you read about or see footage of the DR Congo players and coach protesting?
No, I didn't.
So they were covering their eyes and holding their hands up to their head like a gun because they wanted to draw attention to the ongoing unrest in the east of the country. And as we talked about in the episode, that country, which is so resource rich, has always had a turbulent history of people fighting over those resources. And in the east of the country, the last 20 years, there's been various warring factions. But in the last several years, it's gotten very intense between a group called M23 and the Congolese government. And there's been thousands of deaths and a lot of really traumatic things going on in that country. And there's not a lot of global attention. So the players took that moment to protest. Now, Canal Plus decided to cut out all that protest from their broadcast, which is the broadcast partner for the DR and a lot of Africa, I believe. So the government and DR Congo Footballing Association is very mad at that. But I just hope that, everyone in that country is okay and can get through this. And it's really tough because they ended up really doing a great showing in what has been a fantastic tournament as advertised.
What a story too with Ivory Coast making it to the final.
Oh my gosh, firing their coach when it was not even clear if they would make it to the knockout round. Really underwhelming group stage. And then now here they are in the final at home. It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I'm not going to look what happened, but
I've got it live. We can report the results live as they come through.
Yeah, live as this is released a day later. Okay. But back to global football, the other big news this past week was the apparent arrival and then subsequent departure of the blue card.
It's already departed?
It's already, conversations are now already on pause after universal derision of proposed changes to football rules around the world, where referees would be given a blue card to go with their yellow and red, which could be used against players who were being aggressive towards referees, showing dissent, or doing flagrant fouls or time wasting. They would be given a blue card and then sent to a sin bin.
That's what they called it.
Yes, which is in American hockey, you would call that a penalty box.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes, so that the team would have to play down one player. Now, a lot of players and coaches said that's really horrible because then you would just have a team trying to not engage. It would be like extra time in a match or overtime where it would just be ugly football being played, and it would add more confusion and more chance for mistakes. And there were all this pushback. So finally, they said they're going to take time to take in people's concerns and reevaluate the decision on the blue card.
I mean, a really great way to get more respect out of people who you feel like aren't respecting you as the official. A really great way to get more respect out of them is to create kind of a condescending punishment.
Yes. And something called a sin bin, which I just think is just such a vile name.
It is. It really is.
Sin bin. Oh my gosh. Oh. Sponsored by Cinnabon. That would be good. Cinnabon Sin Bin. The Premier League Cinnabon Sin Bin.
Oh, man.
But it's not just the cards that have gone from temporary to blue and back to their normal colors. The Chicago Fire, one of the pillars of the Footy Museum in terms of teams we follow, is returning to a red kit, and that will be announced this week. And we will talk about that later this week because we're going to have a guest on previewing the Fire. But they did kind of a fun thing on social media this week where about over a week ago, they switched their icon on all social media platforms to an all blue Fire logo. And people are like, oh no, what are they doing again? Why are they messing with it? Then slowly, starting last weekend, it started to slowly shift almost like a sunrise coming up. And these are the variations they've posted so far until it turns all red, which will obviously coordinate with the release of the return to the red kit. I just thought it was a pretty smart little move. And I wanted to give a shout out to them. And I like the ones, maybe they release some of these that are blended like that.
Maybe they do.
Holographic logo. Maybe that's going to be the thing.
Yeah. Do you think that this last one is just going to be the last one, or do you think they are going to really go all red?
I think that this profile picture will go all red, but it won't reflect. That's not what it's going to look like on the kit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a really creative use of a profile picture.
Because
they could have just added it to their timeline, but they didn't do that. They
did it without drawing any attention to it. They just did it, and it started to slowly shift. So very cool. Speaking of the fire in all of MLS, it is preseason, and a lot of the teams are in California at Coachella, playing in a tournament that is spottily televised out in the desert. I would assume that they're having an awesome time. But
totally.
I think that's the way preseason should go. You should go somewhere small like that. Warm.
Drink wine at halftime. Yeah. Get your lace bikini tops and your, I don't know, what is Coachella style? It's like Mad Max meets, it's like Goop meets Mad Max. Is that what you Mad Max and cultural appropriation.
Yes. Oh, it's just a perfect stew of Americana. And that's where the fire are. But not all MLS teams are living it up in the desert. Famously, Inter Miami on their Tour de Noche de Oro around the world.
Looks like he has a little tummy ache.
Their preseason has been a PR disaster, meant to kind of sow the seeds of this exciting new product in MLS, aging superstars, who, again, reminder to the world, this is a team that finished at the very bottom of a 29-team league. Any other league in the world, they would have been relegated last year, okay? So I think there's this misconception that they dominated last year. No, they did well in Leagues Cup, but they were awful. And that has really showed on this tour where they have gone and only one win, and that was at this game in Hong Kong where none of the stars played, even though fans had packed a huge stadium paying exorbitant amounts to watch. And the fans weren't happy, and they kind of aggressively turned on the team, booing, demanding their money back. In fact, the organizers of the event have given all attendees a 50% refund and the cost of tens of millions of dollars. Another highlight is when they went to Saudi Arabia for the clash against Messi versus Ronaldo's El Nasser. Neither star really played. Messi played a little bit at the end, but the MLS side got destroyed 6-0, much like West Ham did today at the hands of Arsenal.
Oh my goodness.
So
they sure did.
This was not great, and I can't help but smile a little bit because I don't know. It's frustrating because they sent a product that doesn't show the best of this league. They've done damage, and it was all kind of cynically market-based, profit-based. At the same year where MLS is trying to pull out of the U.S. Open Cup. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Get what you deserve sometimes. So
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts?
Why didn't they play? Because Suarez had a tummy ache?
I think that there's just too many games back to back, and Suarez is 36 and Messi's 37. Is that right? I mean, they're not.
Messi's not 37, is he?
I think so. So these are not young bodies. They can't handle that. We've talked about on this pod how Suarez injects himself with the souls of children.
He does.
Just to be able to play games.
They have to drink, because they said they found the fountain of youth in Florida, didn't they? And that's why all these guys ended up here.
He has to go to the Forbidden Forest and drink unicorn blood just to play one match. So anyway, but there are happier preseasons. NWSL also in preseason. And I was looking, and the Red Stars have a lot of exciting home games this year. They kick off the season the 23rd against the newly renamed Seattle Reign.
Seattle Reign with the evil
Thorns
queen.
are coming to town. Of course, all teams do come to town. That's what's great about the league, because it's still a size where it's a proper league where all teams play each other.
Yeah.
But then we have Angel City on the 13th of April, San Diego on September 21st, Gotham Champions on October 12th, and the Kansas City Current to end out the season on November 3rd. I am really going to try to go to these games. Is there any ones that stand out to you? I'd love to go to a Thorns game.
Yeah, I think a Thorns game would be really fun. I mean, they'd all be fun, right? Because it's
fun.
Still a league that you never know what each new season is going to bring.
There's a lot of positivity around NWSL right now. It's growing so fast. There's big stars. Even though that's true, someone did their best to counter the positivity surrounding the women's game in the U.S. this week. And that is Linda Horan, more widely known as Lindsey Horan, who now plays in France, I believe. And she had an interview on The Athletic where she decided to share her deepest, most nuanced thoughts.
She sounds frustrated.
American fans. I think this stems from her beef with Julie Foudy, a U.S. women's national player icon and now soccer announcer, who apparently pointed out some things in a game that she was playing that she views as inaccurate. And then Lindsey's mother spewed back what Foudy had said, and that made her mad. And now she went off. This article's interesting. She kind of is swearing at some point, whatever. But she said, American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand. I can't think of a dumber statement to make. Now, context is everything. I know Lindsey Horan is one of my favorite U.S. players. And I don't think she's trying to insult the base, but this is the captain of the U.S. women's national team. And you're not going to, people who are trying to figure it out aren't going to feel that great with this. And then people wanting to get on board. And I think she's going to have to carry this quote around.
She is.
Possibly for the rest of her career.
It sounds to me like she's frustrated. She probably had a lot of frustration after the American audience response to the Women's World Cup.
Well, that's another point.
Yeah.
If this quote was coming from the World Cup champion U.S. women's national team, but not just by our high standards, they did not play well.
They didn't play well.
You could argue they played a style that suggested a lack of understanding compared to the rest of the world. It was very based on athletic strength, speed, long balls, not a nuanced style. So I think that also folds into it. It's like, well, you know, look in the mirror about how the U.S. women played last year. Now a lot of that was coaching. Vlatko is just an idiot of a coach. They have an amazing coach now who will now have to come and take over the team under partially a cloud of this quote. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a fair, what you just said is a fair assessment of the situation, but she probably took it really personally, all of the truly not smart things people were saying, criticizing the team. Like that's your comment is like, yes, that is a informed and nuanced observation of somebody who follows soccer and understands forms and plays and styles. And a lot of people who were chiming in do not watch soccer because they're not even fans. They just want to see the women's team fail because of their political stances. So, I don't know. Maybe she's not even mad at fans. Maybe she's mad at just that and taking it out on everybody.
Yeah, and I hope that she recovers from this because, as I said, she is one of our top players. And by all accounts, this is not reflective of the type of person or player she is. But I think more broadly, it points to the fact, I think sometimes players need to realize it's actually not about them with fans. I think that there's so much attention and focus and money put on players. They actually internalize that people are there supporting their team just because of them. Where the reality is the players rotate in or out, and it's this connection with history and culture in a club that the fans have, and that's what they have decided in their own life to invest part of themselves in.
Yeah.
And I think when anyone in any walk of life fails to have that perspective that they're just part of something else, that's where things can sway. And I always think it's interesting in soccer and football across the country and the world, because players now get these huge contracts. There's so much attention, but it's really not about them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, a lot of the leagues in the world, they could lose all their millionaire players, lose their status, their TV broadcasts. And of course that would be horrible, awful. People would be mad, frustrated, but you'd still have people coming to the games. You know what I mean?
It's true. As long as they didn't charge an arm and a leg.
Yeah, that's true. That's the other thing. And then in other news, have you heard about this rumor that Adidas is developing a new logo for their soccer line based on the silhouette of Jude Bellingham?
I've heard this rumor.
And apparently it's this stance.
It's this stance.
Is this his famous stance?
And I heard this compared to like the Michael Jordan outline.
Yeah, the Michael Jordan outline. What I would say though, that is like Jordan flying through the air. And this is like
just standing.
Flying, this is like standing. It's also easily could be easily confused with that statue in Rio de Janeiro of Jesus on top of the.
Yeah, that's fair too. And in my head, I wonder, like, of course, people recognize it. Yes, it's his iconic stance, but is it as iconic as?
I don't think so.
Like a Jordan outline.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Just because of the league he plays in, unfortunately, and that's not the focus of the world as it once was. But I think they should do something unexpected, like his silhouette while he's like on his computer or eating cereal.
Well, didn't he just sprain his ankle? So maybe with his foot up.
Just having coffee with his foot up.
And a paper.
And speaking of crossovers, the Atlanta United's kit this is, I believe, would be their third kit of the season or second kit. I'm not sure which one.
Or is this for next?
This is for this coming season because they haven't dropped yet except on EA Sports. It was air quote leaked. I think this is intentional.
Yeah,
being worn
there are cameras.
The Atlanta Hawks NBA
cameras,
basketball players
and there's sunglasses.
as they come up to the game. And I think it's kind of fun. There's a lot of NBA players who are fans of soccer. I think there's a lot of affinity between those two. Especially the foreign players. There's so many foreign NBA players, and they grew up where, football was the main sport.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it. What I don't like is these kids. I think that they're just horrible.
You know what? To me, it's giving Sam Eagle from the Muppets.
Because like Sam Eagle from the Muppets.
Because there's a light blue, and it's very like beak forward.
Well, I got to say, actually, looking at it in context of our little watermark crest there, it looks like some AI degeneration of our own logo. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, isn't it? It's supposed to be based on the Atlanta flag that has a phoenix.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, in which I think I looked at the flag, and the flag is cooler.
There's a trend now in ugly kits. I don't get it. I mean, Liverpool, we talk about this. I'm not liking the trends right now, but
it will forever be in my mind the Sam Eagle kit.
You very much look like you're on the set of Blade Runner now.
I'm in a metaphorical like prison of my own mind. like, am I a robot? Am I not a robot?
Is it 1987? Is it?
There's so much neon.
All right. Well, that's it for our uninformed opinions. For this week, we'll be back later in the week with a preview of one of the teams that make up the Footy Hall of Fame. What do we call it? Anyway, one of the teams we support, and that is the Chicago Fire, who have had a very exciting offseason, and we're going to get a sense of what to expect from this year and also talk about kind of the culture and kind of fan experience surrounding that club. So look for that later this week. And of course, you can always follow us on socials. We're on Threads a lot. We opened a Blue Sky account to see if that goes anywhere. So find us everywhere at The Footy Museum, and check out our website at thefootymuseum.com. where maybe sometime shortly in the future you can find hats like
Oh,
this,
hey, that's a really cool hat.
like this beauty right here.
What a nice hat.
Yeah.
That you're wearing.
It's good. It's a nice nylon. It's very good for the warm weather coming. Got lots of compliments. So go check that out. And we will talk to you soon. All right.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.